everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to do the commentary / analysis for episode 7 of Miraculous Ladybug season 6, El Toro de Piedra. I hope I said that correctly. Anyway, as always, I'm about to spoil the entire thing for you. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, please besties, go and watch it. You definitely want to see this one, like I said in other videos. Some of you work out what happened in the episode by watching my videos and don't watch the actual episode, you just try and guess, which is lovely and very, very sweet of you. But I think this is one episode you're going to want to watch yourself because, oh my god, I loved it. And I think, first of all, one of the strongest episodes of the show we've ever had. One of my favourite episodes ever, I think, at the minute anyway, obviously if you haven't seen the rest of season 6. However, I don't think it was a perfect episode. I gave it, you're all about to hate me, 9.5 out of 10. So, quick thoughts before we get into the rest of the thing. Why is it only 9.5 out of 10? What points did it lose? And that was because of the father themes, which isn't a problem, that's not the problem I had. I liked the themes, I liked how it all came together. I think it really shows, like one of the things I was talking about in my Thematic analysis last week, was about how what Aurora was doing and what Adrian was doing, they didn't really gel well together, so it didn't really fit. However, in this episode it really did, because Adrian, obviously at the start of the episode, he's going through these boxes and he's like, I don't really know what to do without my dad, without my parents. Then Ivan was having these issues with his dad, and what I think would have, you know, really brought it home, just unified it all together much more, would have been if there was some more interaction between Ivan and his dad. For example, his dad kept texting him. I couldn't have thought of any other, like, so when I give critiques I like to try and think of a solution. I couldn't personally think of any extra scenes they would have had time to add between Ivan and his dad. So maybe if his dad just kept sending him reminder text. And then also at the same time, I think what would really have united it properly is if Julika and her dad had been present, even if Jagged wasn't in the episode. So as we all know from season 4, is that Julika has had issues with her dad, because prior to the episode Truth she didn't even know who he was. Then in the episode, for example, Crocodile, there was some stuff going on in that one, but at the end of that episode she seemed to have the start, I guess, of a good relationship with her dad. We haven't really seen them interact much more, so I don't know how it's gone. So I think possibly maybe when they were rehearsing in Adrian's room, Julika could have texted Jagged, her dad, and been like, hey, I'm gonna be rehearsing at this thing, and then maybe Jagged doesn't even reply, maybe Penny replies instead or something like that, and she'd be like, you know, I'll try and make sure he's there or whatever. I don't know if Jagged is still in Brazil. I have no idea. Why was Luca that? I don't know. Anyway. And then he obviously doesn't show up, but maybe Annika's in the audience, she has a spare chair next to her where Jagged is supposed to be, which would have really tied it together, since Julika's song was about parents, and like there was a line in the song like, I am my father's daughter. I think it just would have united the episode so much more. But otherwise I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great, and I think most of you know, unless you're a really new viewer to my channel, is that I am pretty much here for everything about Miraculous. Other than the hero stuff, often for me, with a few exceptions, the least favourite part of the episodes for me is the Akuma battle, because I just don't care. They're just quite repetitive to me. However, this episode was very, very different. I loved the way it was done, especially the Akuma part, so I really appreciated how it had less of a focus on that, and it was still about the emotions at the end of the day with the Akuma and Ivan and his dad's relationship, whose name I've already forgotten. I didn't write it down, I'm terrible with names. But yeah, so I absolutely love the episode. I just think if they added some text between Ivan and his dad, where his dad's like, don't forget you've got this thing at, was it 5:30 at the Louvre? And then also Julika trying to reach out to her dad to get him to come to this concert, because the song did seem to be kind of about Jagged, to me anyway. I think you could interpret it differently, but it was about parents. She said there's a line, I am my father's daughter. You know, I really feel like having more of interaction between Ivan and his dad prior to the crime, I guess, and also Julika trying to reach out to her dad would have really just united it all and brought it all together. But otherwise I thought it was great. So that's why I didn't get the full 10, because I think they could have just done a couple of tiny things and it would have made the episode even better. So now let's get into a blow by blow. But oh my god, loved it. I thought it was great. So at first when I was watching it, I did film a reaction. Glad I did, because most of this episode I was like, oh, sat at my desk, I was like, oh my god. So first of all though, I thought they were going to do a heist, and I love heists, so I was like, this is right up my street. I was very happy, shocked, surprised when it turned out to be Ivan's dad. I really should have guessed, because they do look quite similar. They have quite similar build, but it just didn't cross my mind. And honestly, I do kind of wish Ivan had gone through with it, but only because I like drama and I like heists. My favourite films are heist films, so anytime there's a new heist film out, I'm like, show me. When I was going to the Caribbean in February, one of the films they had on like the in-flight entertainment was Ocean's 8, one of my favourite heist films. If you haven't seen it, so good. It happens at the Met Gala. You should check it out. I love heists. Anyway, but then we have Adrian's bedroom, and I'm still a bit confused. So he has, I guess, the regular bedroom downstairs, but then it seems upstairs is this space he's renovating. Why he's renovating it, not sure. Adrian's like, I gotta make all these decisions, and I'm like, I'm just a bit confused. We haven't been given all the information about what's going on. But also secondly, so you seem to be able to access this second bedroom, I guess, via the stairs in Adrian's room, which in seasons 1 to 5 led to the mezzanine level, which was literally just a balcony with bookcases on. So what on earth kind of renovations of these that have turned a balcony mezzanine level into a full-on extra room? I don't know. Personally, I would still like some more information. It's becoming clearer, but I'm still confused. And then, oh my god, the baby boxes. I know, as soon as Adrian said like, oh, in the 1-year-old it's like just gonna be my socks, I was like, Marinette will love it if it's just your socks. That's straight up Marinette, straight let her see your socks. And then the outfit, I understand the point they're trying to make about how like, obviously the little baby outfit is the same as what Adrian's wearing. It's like, he's wearing the same thing his entire life. Great, and he's struggling to adjust and work out what he actually wants. So whatever outfit they eventually give Adrian when he decides who he is, I'm very curious to see what it's like. Like, you are building this up to be an amazing outfit. Better be a good outfit. And then we have Luca. Like I already said, why are you still not in the country? Why? Build a new temple in France for the Guardians. Where's Suhan? Don't know. Is Jagged still in Brazil? That might have helped with the episode. Like, he could have tuned in. Luke could have been like, oh, I'll get Jagged, I'll get Dad to come. No. I don't know where Jagged and Penny are. No clue. But then I am thinking, so Thomas had said fairly recently, I can't remember how long ago it was now, that Luca is going to have a new love interest, although I'm not sure how that's going to go. If it, like, is the love interest going to be in Paris? He's not in the same country or continent, like, how? But I'm possibly thinking it's going to be the new guitarist, whoever they may be. I definitely think they're going to be a brand new character, unless, like, Diane can play the guitar and we just don't know yet. Diane and Luca would be so cute. Anyway. And then we have Natalie. So I'm assuming the call that Marinette interrupts is the same people she's talking to at the end of the episode, which we will get when we get to the end. That was very, very interesting. Slightly confusing, some of it, but very interesting. I am very, very excited. And then we get the duel scene with the letter and Ivan playing the drums. I love the bit with Ivan and the drums. It's a tension rising in him, but also the tension, I guess, building as they read more and more of the letter. So first of all, when the letter started, I was like, okay, this is a nice normal letter. It's like, okay, I am dead if you're reading this letter. Cool. But then he basically leaves the butterfly Miraculous to Adrian in his will. Alright. And part of me does kind of hope, like, let's assume Lila is the villain for, I don't know if she's going to do like a full Miraculous year, which would be up until the end of season 10. I do kind of hope it does become Adrian. I would love an evil Adrian. Like I said it in my Miraculous, I think it was the reacting to the unpopular Miraculous Ladybug opinions. We've had loads of characters who've like start from bad or slightly evil place and become more evil, like Gabriel, like Lila, like Chloe. I would love to have a character who goes from good to evil. We haven't had that in the show yet. I know like we have the Akumas, but like that's a temporary change, or like Alia, for example, in Lady Wi-Fi. Alia, who is, I would say, coded as a morally good person, she temporarily becomes evil, but then she reverts back after the Akuma, right? I want someone to go through a shift where they develop from someone good who is like Adrian or like Alia and shift to become like Lila or Gabriel was in season 5. So I would love Adrian to be the butterfly Miraculous holder one day, or even just work with Lila. I just want him to be evil. Okay, he's been through so much. He is a ball of sunshine. Now make him set Paris on fire, please. But of course this letter also right at the end, right before Ivan finishes his set, not really know what happens before the drums go everywhere, does confirm to me anyway that Adrian is a sentient monster. Gabriel talks about we don't regret using the Peacock Miraculous, and then drums everywhere. It was great. I thought it was great with all the tension building. It was so good. And then as Ivan leaves the mansion, there is a person sat on the bench. We don't see their face, but I'm assuming this is Lila / a helper of Lila, which I want to do a video about, but I'm waiting for the Chromatic Queen to come out in another language before I do, which I'll explain in the video why I'm waiting when we get that. So then we get to the high. So Ivan didn't do it, but it's just me, because I like drama. I wish he would, and I just love a good heist, so I just wish he'd done it for me. Not for any narrative sense. I liked that he didn't do it and he left the letter instead. I thought it was great, but obviously his dad is like so angry and just the way he is, doesn't listen to reason, gets akumatized, and I thought the Akuma power was amazing. So he becomes like a stone ball himself and then turns everyone else into stone balls, and they go out as like this herd / army destroying Paris. Thought it was great. Then we have the concert and all the kids. First of all, Kim, they're all giving the speech and Kim's just like, yeah, I'm not talking, I'll just be here. But Zoe's on the stage as well. Like, Zoe, you weren't even in the class. I love you to bits, but you weren't in the class. Why are you on the stage? Why? I don't really know. But then so obviously El Toro de Piedra comes out the Louvre with his herd, and Ivan just sat on the side. Instead of running, he does eventually run, but he just starts talking to his dad as if it's nothing. It's like, yep, my dad is made out of stone now and is sat on this massive stone ball. I'm just gonna have a little chat with him like it's nothing, and it was great. I also love the fact in this episode we got some more information about Ivan. It seems like he's been raised by his grandma. Honestly, since Origins, I haven't really learned any information about Ivan. I think the only other information we got was in the Miraculous secret card playing game thing. Literally since Origins there has been nothing else. So it was nice to find out more about him, and just as a side note, I'd like to learn more about the other side characters. Like for example Kim. I don't really know anything about Kim other than who he's dating and that he likes swimming and what he did in Derision. Like that's it. I don't know anything else about Kim. I'd like to know more about Milan, you know what I mean? Like I'd like to just in general, as the show goes on, like to learn more about the other side characters, I suppose. Like it'd be great. And of course Ivan escapes into the sewers. Now I did like his sewer scene with Ladybug. I thought it was great, although it was very similar to the scene in Daddy Cop. Obviously quite different. Sabrina thinks she's unworthy because of what happened with Chloe. Ivan thinks he's unworthy because of what's happening with his dad, and I gave it a pass. I was a bit like, should this episode be 9 out of 10 because Sabrina had the exact same scene in Daddy Cop, and I also think this one is set after Daddy Cop because on the stage Sabrina is in her new outfit she gets at the end of Daddy Cop, so I think this one is set afterwards. I'm basically using Sabrina to work out when the episodes take place because I don't know when this episode took place. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, Ivan's scene here in comparison to the Daddy Cop scene with Sabrina was quite different, because Sabrina was just like, I'm a terrible person, I've done terrible things, whereas Ivan's was like, no, I didn't do this thing, but I'm related to someone who is a criminal. And Ladybug is like, okay, well you can love someone, be related to someone, and disagree with what they've done, obviously echoing back to what Adrian's done. So to me, I felt the scene was different enough to the one in Daddy Cop that I didn't mind it. But if all the other holders are gonna have the exact same, like we're gonna get one with Julika for Purple Tigress, Rose, Kit, and so on, you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna do this with all of the newer ones, like Mark and Nathaniel? So I'm like, I think it's normal to have doubts, especially for some of the newer ones like Mark and Nathaniel. Really haven't used the Miraculous much. Like Mark was twice in Penalty and Strike Back. Nathaniel was just in Penalty, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he was used any other time. So I do think on one hand it's normal to have doubts, but I'm like, maybe one of you should go and talk to Cat Noir about those doubts, or just someone else, just to make it, just do something a little bit different with it, because we've had 2 now and I'm like, okay, they were good scenes, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, let's not keep doing this. Maybe ask Cat Noir how he feels. I don't know. So I did like the scene because it was also about, to me anyway, also was talking about Adrian and his dad, like he's still a good person even though he's related to this terrible person. So I liked it, and then oh my god. So back at the concert, back at the school, like okay, Ivan isn't here, the Luca connection isn't working, the web connection, the screen connection, whatever the actual issue was there. We're gonna have to do it acoustic. Rose is like, I'm more of like a screamo singer, not a singer. Julika, you're gonna have to do it. And Julika was like, I don't know. And then Rose kissed her. Oh my god, in the reaction, I don't know if you could see it because obviously I'm wearing makeup as I do for most of my videos, but I started blushing. You didn't even properly see it because of the censorship, but I loved it. I love it. Now I'm just waiting for a Mark and Nathaniel kiss, even though I do not think Nathaniel is worthy of my son. But anyway. It It was great. And I thought as well, so at the start of the song, Julica, so she starts playing on her bass and then she's about to sing, but then she's like, no, she's too nervous, and she looks at Miss Bustier. So what I think could have been done there is she sees her mum in the audience, Julica sees Annika, maybe like the row behind Miss Bustier or something, and then she looks to the side of her. Jagged hasn't turned up, but then she sees Miss Bustier, and I do think Miss Bustier definitely for a lot of the kids was like a parental figure, and then Miss Bustier would have been like, yeah, you got this. And honestly, Miss Bustier in this episode, she was great. She didn't say a single word, but just her facial expressions, it just communicated everything she would have said, and it was great. Well, this is the thing with Miraculous. They are so bad at often doing loads of telling instead of showing, but on the rare moments when they do showing, like this, it's great. Like, for example, a really good example of showing is, I hated the Reverse special, but by far the best scene in the Reverse special is the silent one, where it's like a flashback where Reverse Adrian is sat in the car outside the bakery and his bodyguard goes in to buy him some stuff. Not a single word is said, but you can tell everything everyone is feeling in that scene without any words. I'm like, so when they do it, they do a great job. They just choose not to do it most of the time, and I'm just like, why? You obviously can do it more. There's literally always the best parts of the episode when you do that. But anyway, so then we get on to the Akuma fight, and I absolutely loved it because it was full of more emotion than we usually get, because obviously that was that connection between Ivan and his dad. But for example, back in season 4, when, for example, a lot of, well actually not just in season 4, a lot of the times when someone is akumatized and we get a brand new hero, that hero often knows them. So for example, Alia's debut as Rena Rouge was in Sapatis, Nino's debut in Anansi was with Alia being in danger, so like, you can think of more, again, Max, Pegasus and Star Train helping to save his mum. They all have some personal or emotional connection to the Akuma villain or someone who's being targeted by the Akuma villain, with the exception, really, I'd say Kim in Party Crasher and Milen in Mega Leash. I would say the rest of them, they have some kind of relation or connection to the person. So even though they all have that, this was definitely by far the most emotional one because of how it was done. So I loved it when they do emotions in Miraculous, it's always so good. So I loved it so much with Julica singing, Miss Bustier was great, Ivan's power was wonderful, getting Ladybug and Cat Noir behind him. The hat Ladybug was wearing was absolutely not it, but I understood it was like, okay, it's like a rodeo sort of thing, this is what you need to do to win. I got it. The only thing I wish was that Cat Noir had been a bit more involved. I understand at the end he was like a diversion to get the rest of the balls away, but I think maybe if you'd had Ivan being reluctant and wasn't sure if he should follow through with Ladybug's plan, but then maybe he glances back, sees Cat Noir being taken over by these balls, he's like, well, I've got no choice, I have to be there for my teammates, and he does it and saves his dad. I thought that would have been great. Also, I have no idea why the song, Julica's song, was in English. It was great, don't get me wrong, loved it. Why is shit in English though? I don't know. No clue. That was a weird choice. So then obviously they win the Akuma fight. It was glorious, it was amazing. I don't really know what else to say. It was just so good, so different. I highly doubt we'll ever get anything like that again, but it was great. They should do all of them like that. Will it be really samey? Yeah, but I also really loved it. It was so much more emotional than having people talk at the same time, so. She says, even though she just said, maybe you shouldn't do the sewer scene again, but I think that was very different to the song. So I think the song was just much more effective, and no, I didn't cry or cringe out of my skin into another plane of existence. I thought it was beautiful. Gabriel's song will forever be ingrained in here as a memory associated with trauma. So then Roger turns up with some handcuffs, which I don't think would have fit on Ivan's dad to begin with, because the man has got wrists the size of thighs and he's got thighs the size of tree trunks. So they wouldn't have worked anyway, but I do find it really funny. It's not really a point of criticism about this episode, but just kind of more of a general note about the show, that this grown man, who I'm assuming was in prison and has been let out of prison on this new program called A New Chance, which gives prisoners like a second chance at life. Loads of countries have programs like this, they'll just be called different things. I like the idea, don't get me wrong, I believe in prisoner reform, that people can change, but it's just found it so ironic that this man, who has committed, I would assume, other thefts, since that seems to be his thing from what we learned at the start of the episode, this man is allowed a second chance at life and a second chance of a relationship with his son, but Chloe, a 14-year-old girl, is absolutely irredeemable when the reason she is the way she is because she's been abused by her parents. Even this week on Twitter, or was it end of last week? I can't remember. It was between this episode and Come At Queen. People were talking about Chloe, and someone described Chloe as poor Chloe, as in like, not poor as in she doesn't have any money, poor Chloe as in like, oh, she's a poor girl, some terrible things have happened to her. And he was like, yeah, poor is the last word I would use to describe her. Like, the man doesn't even know he's written someone who has been abused. And I don't know if I should laugh or cry about that, because I'm just like, I don't think he fundamentally understands his own character, and it's just a little bit concerning at this point. But then anyway, we have the ending. So, this is who I think, first of all, Natalie was on the call to when Marinette interrupts with the letter, who I definitely don't think they should give that letter to Adrian. It's not gonna go to plan, although I do think it'd be funny if you found it. That would be hilarious. So I think that's who Natalie was on the call to. And the first thing of note is that we have all these different people. So I think the diamond they're referring to, I think that is Gabriel. Because they're saying Natalie was a shadow of the diamond, so kind of like the diamond's assistant, confidant, sidekick, evil assistant, whatever you want to call them. So I do think the diamond was Gabriel. However, there is a diamond lit up in like the circle of like screens on the chairs or whatever. So I don't know if he's been replaced by someone, like if one person leaves or they die, they bring in someone else so they become the new diamond. I don't know. And I definitely think the machine is Tomoe. I am not super familiar with Tomoe's French dub voice, like the voices I know the best are for the English dub, because that's the one I watch the most because I'm British and I speak English. So I'm not 100% confident, so anyone who is more confident with the French dub, please tell me if it is or isn't Tomoe's voice actress. I'm pretty sure it is. It sounded like it to me, but like Tomoe isn't a major character, so I think I maybe have only heard one episode of Tomoe's voice in the French dub, so I'm really not super familiar with it, so please tell me if that's true. However, as for the rest of them, obviously I don't know who they are and what their code names are, but the wheat stalk, or is it an ear of wheat? I don't know the correct thing, but the one who stays at the end, obviously Natalie's dad, oh my god. However, a couple of things to note. So Tomoe's going on about this Perfect Will project. Was that the oxygen tower? Is that related that we heard about in Mega Leech? Maybe. Don't know. Also, a thing of note is they're saying Ladybug lied to the world, we all know Gaby Baby was Monarch Daddy. Now part of me is like, okay, well, there are a couple of other people other than Marinette who knew, Natalie being one of them, Tomoe being another one of those as well. So I'm like, okay, well, supposedly, possibly one of those two told this council, I think they refer to themselves as the council. Or perhaps if Gabriel was this diamond on the council, they already knew because he told them. Like, this is part of my grand plan. Hi, sorry, editing haze here. Also, I realised I forgot to say, it was in my notes. I've just finished taking screenshots of the video. I'm like, why didn't I say that? I was using my notes to take them. Why, obviously not why, that was the wrong word to say. Obviously they want Natalie on this court thing, council, whatever. I keep thinking Court of Owls because it reminds me of Batman. They obviously wanted to get Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous for whatever reason they want it. Everyone wants it, why? Only Gabriel so far has had good reason. And also Markov. Markov had a great reason in Robustus. But obviously Natalie knows Marinette's got the Ladybug, so she's gonna do with that. Like, I love Natalie, she's a bit of a morally grey character. Is she gonna betray Marinette? Like, is she gonna wait till she finds out who Cat Noir's is? Is she gonna betray them both? What's she gonna do? Like, if she does find out, like, is her plan gonna be, okay, well, I know Ladybug's got that in the bag, Marinette kind of trusts me, we have a bit of a relationship going on. Not really a friendship because Marinette's a child. They can't really have a friendship, you know what I mean? Like, they have some sort of trust between them after what happened in London Special. So is Natalie kind of like, okay, well, I've got Marinette's trust, easy, I'm gonna wait till I find out who Cat Noir is, hopefully she will. And then she's like, finds out it's Adrian, and she's like, what do I do? My dad needs his Miraculous. But my, like, adopted surrogate son has one, and his girlfriend has the other. What am I supposed to do? I can't wait. The conflict internally that she's gonna feel. Can't wait. Natalie, find out soon, please. Overall, this council scene reminded me of the Court of Owls from Batman, which I used in the audio fic that's ongoing on my channel for Miraculous, which is called the Court of Butterflies. It's basically the same thing, where Gotham's most rich and influential people, or most of them because Bruce Wayne isn't on it, gather together and scheme and make things terrible with people in Gotham because why not? That seems to be going on. However, I'm just a bit like, I definitely feel this is an idea they've come up with for this season, and I definitely feel it would have been better executed had we had any just teeny tiny hints about it, and possibly there were, and maybe we just don't know, we didn't see those hints until we maybe get more information about this council. There were quite a few people on it, most of them didn't speak in this end scene, so I'll be interested to maybe theorise who they could be because they're quite different symbols, but I definitely think the diamond was Gabriel and the machine is Tomoe. But for example, the staff, who, like, there was like a staff, like a scepter maybe, seemed to be like leading the meeting, no clue who that could be. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was very intriguing. I thought the whole episode was great. So overall I gave it 9.5 out of 10. Ivan was the MVP. I just think it could have been improved slightly to go all the way up to 10 if Cat Noir had had more of a presence in the Akuma fight, since Adrian was a central part of this episode. And also if Ivan and his dad had a bit more communication over text about the heist, the crime they were gonna potentially commit, and also with Julika and Jagged, which overall for me would have really driven home the point about fathers and their children and their relationships with them if they'd included Julika and her dad, since the song was such a huge deal, since it was like the backtrack for the Akuma fight, which I just thought was absolutely amazing. Absolute cinema. It was great. Loved it so much, and I think might be one of my all-time favourites of the show. Not as good as Guilt Trip and Party Crasher, but that's only because they're my comfort episodes and they're fun. This episode wasn't fun, this episode was depressing, but I enjoyed myself. So anyway, besties, of course I would always love to know what you thought of this episode. Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Did you love the Akuma fight? What do you think's going on with Natalie? Do you think Marinette should have given Adrian the letter? I think she just stuffed it up the back of her shirt at the end. I didn't see where she put it after that. That was like, yeah, she literally stuffed it the back of her shirt, went to hug Adrian, end screen, cut to Natalie. So, don't know what she's gonna do with it. You're gonna burn it? Bake it into bread? I don't know. Anyway, I would always love to know what you think. If you're going to leave me an essay, I can't wait to read it, but please put it into paragraphs. I don't care if the paragraphs make sense, I'm not your English teacher. It just makes it easier for me to read since I have terrible eyesight. But anyway, I'd love to know what you think of this. The reaction video will be up tomorrow, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!